Welcome to the channel The Revenge Chronicles. Today we're talking about the revenge story of a daughter and mother. So here is story, the best gift is the day when you're gone. My daughter said that to me, those exact words, on Christmas morning right in front of her younger brother and my husband. Can you even begin to imagine the ice that shot through my veins? My own flesh and blood looking me dead in the eye, wishing for my non-existence. Tell me, was I wrong for what I did next? Would you have just stood there and taken it, or would you have finally snapped, just like I did? Because what followed that Christmas morning wasn't a festive celebration. It was a reckoning. Let me take you back to where this all began, or at least where I thought it began. My daughter, let's call her Sarah, was always a difficult child. From the moment she could vocalize her opinions, they were usually contrary to whatever I suggested. When she was little, I just chalked it up to a strong personality, a budding independent spirit. Every parent dreams of raising a confident child, right? I tried to nurture that, to channel it into something positive. If she didn't want to wear the pink dress, fine, we'd find something else. If she preferred building blocks to dolls, excellent, a future engineer. But as she grew, this strong personality morphed into something much darker. It became defiance, disrespect, and eventually outright cruelty directed squarely at me. My husband, Mark, bless his heart, always tried to mediate. He'd say, "She's just testing boundaries, honey. She'll grow out of it." But she never did. In fact, it escalated. Her younger brother, Tom, was 5 years her junior and, frankly, a much easier child. He was sweet, empathetic, and adored me. This, I believe, only fueled Sarah's resentment. She saw him as the golden child, the one who effortlessly got my affection while she had to fight for everything. But she didn't have to fight. I tried so hard to show her love, to connect with her. I'd plan special mommy-daughter days, just the two of us. We'd go shopping, get our nails done, see a movie, things I thought she'd enjoy. Each time, I'd walk in with optimism, hoping this would be the day we'd finally bridge the gap. And each time, I'd leave feeling deflated, rejected. She'd find fault with everything, criticize my choices, or simply sit there with a bored expression, scrolling on her phone. "This is lame, Mom," she'd often say, or "Can we just go home? I have better things to do." It felt like a constant battle, an invisible wall between us that I desperately tried to dismantle, brick by painful brick. When she hit her teenage years, the verbal jabs became sharper, more personal. My appearance, my cooking, my opinions, nothing was safe from her scathing remarks. Mark would try to intervene, but Sarah had a way of twisting things, making me out to be the unreasonable one. "You're always siding with her," she'd yell at him, or "Why are you always against me?" It got to the point where I dreaded family dinners. I'd sit there, trying to make polite conversation, only for her to make some snide comment under her breath or roll her eyes dramatically. Tom, bless his sweet heart, would often try to lighten the mood or even defend me, which would only make Sarah lash out at him too. "Mind your own business, tattletale," or "You're such a mommy's boy." It broke my heart to see her treat him like that, especially when he was just trying to help. I started walking on eggshells around her, trying to avoid any potential trigger, but it was futile. Everything seemed to be a trigger. If I asked about her day, it was "None of your business." If I didn't ask, it was "You never care about me." It was a no-win situation, a psychological gauntlet I felt trapped in. I even sought therapy, alone at first, trying to understand what I was doing wrong. The therapist suggested family counseling, but Sarah flat out refused. "There's nothing wrong with me, Mom. You're the one with the problem." Then came the money issues. Not that we were struggling, but we certainly weren't wealthy. We had a comfortable life, 2 cars, a nice house in the suburbs, annual vacations. But Sarah always wanted more. Brand name clothes, the latest phone, expensive concert tickets. She'd compare herself to her friends, whose parents seemed to have endless disposable income. I tried to explain that we had to budget, that money didn't grow on trees, but it fell on deaf ears. She'd accuse me of being cheap, of not caring about her happiness. It was relentless. She got a part-time job when she turned 16, but the money she earned rarely went towards her own wants. Instead, she'd spend it on lavish gifts for her friends, trying to buy their affection, I suppose. And when she ran out, guess who she came to? Me, of course. Not Mark, always me. Mom, I need X amount for Y. Can you just transfer it? She'd demand, not ask. If I hesitated, the torrent of abuse would begin. You're so selfish. You never do anything for me. I hate living here. The words cut deep, each one a fresh wound. Mark would often give in just to keep the peace. It's not worth the fight, honey, he'd say, handing her the money. But it was worth the fight because it was eroding my very soul. My self-worth plummeted. I started to believe her, that I was a bad mother, that I was selfish. I'd cry myself to sleep most nights, wondering where I had gone wrong. What had I done to deserve such vitriol from my own child? So that's the situation I was in. Years of emotional abuse, constant criticism, and a deep, festering resentment from my own daughter. And here I was, on Christmas morning, after weeks of trying to create a perfect holiday for everyone, hearing those words, "The best gift is the day when you're gone." I had spent weeks planning, shopping, wrapping, trying to find her something she'd actually appreciate, something that might even crack a smile on her face. I had painstakingly picked out a new laptop for her, a really good one because her old one was slow and I knew how much she loved gaming and watching videos. I'd even found some limited edition sneakers she'd been coveting, waiting in line for hours to get them. Tom, my sweet Tom, had made me a lopsided clay ornament with glitter glue, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Mark had bought me a gorgeous new watch. It was a picture-perfect Christmas morning scene. Fireplace crackling, carols playing softly, hot cocoa steaming in mugs. And then, after she unwrapped all her expensive gifts without so much as a thank you, she turned to me, her eyes cold and hard, and delivered that line. Tom's little face crumpled, Mark looked horrified, and I just stood there, the words echoing in my ears. Before I tell you what happened next, what I finally did after years of taking it, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. How much can a mother take before she breaks? My vision blurred, not with tears, but with a sudden, overwhelming wave of clarity. It was like a dam had burst inside me, releasing years of pent-up hurt, anger, and utter exhaustion. I looked at Sarah, truly looked at her, and for the first time I didn't see my daughter. I saw a stranger, a cruel, entitled young woman who had systematically chipped away at my spirit. And then something snapped. A switch flipped. The accommodating, long-suffering mother was gone, replaced by a raw, furious protective instinct. Protective of myself, protective of Tom, protective of what little peace was left in our home. I walked over to the beautifully wrapped gift she had just opened. The expensive laptop, the coveted sneakers, the designer clothes. My hands, trembling slightly but with a newfound resolve, started gathering them. Sarah's eyes widened, a flicker of genuine surprise finally gracing her face. "What are you doing?" she demanded, her voice rising. "What do you think I'm doing?" I replied, my voice dangerously calm, a stark contrast to the earthquake raging inside me. "You want the best gift to be the day I'm gone? Fine. But you won't be enjoying any gifts from me when I'm gone." I piled everything into a large garbage bag I found in the kitchen. She started to protest, to yell, to even try and grab some of the items. "Those are mine." "You can't do that," she shrieked. Mark, who had been frozen in shock, finally stirred. "Honey, what are you doing?" "Let's not make a scene," he pleaded, reaching for my arm. I gently but firmly shrugged him off. "She made the scene, Mark. This is the consequence." I turned back to Sarah, whose face was now a mask of fury mixed with genuine panic. "You want to live in a world without me?" I said, my voice rising slightly. "Then you can start by living without everything I provide." I didn't stop there. I walked into her room, opened her closet, and started pulling out all the clothes I had ever bought her since she was old enough to have opinions on fashion. The expensive brands, the trendy outfits, everything. "Mom, stop. Are you crazy?" she screamed, following me, trying to block my path. "I'm not crazy, Sarah. I'm finally sane. I'm finally seeing clearly." I brought out bag after bag, piling them at the front door. Her phone, which she was never without, was next. "Hand it over," I commanded. She clutched it to her chest. "No way. You can't take my phone." "Oh, I can. Because I pay the bill." And if I'm gone, as you so eloquently put it, then so is your phone plan. With surprising strength, I wrestled it from her grasp. I reset it to factory settings, then put it in a drawer. Mark, looking utterly bewildered, kept trying to reason with me, but I was beyond reasoning. I was acting on pure, unadulterated instinct. I turned to Sarah one last time, my eyes boring into hers. You wished for my absence. Congratulations. Consider me absent from your life, financially, emotionally, and practically. You want to be an adult, responsible for yourself? Fine. Get a job, pay your own way, buy your own things. Because from this moment on, you get nothing more from me. The aftermath was a storm. Sarah was incandescent with rage. She stomped out of the house, slamming the door, and didn't come back for 2 days. She stayed with a friend, calling Mark incessantly, trying to get him to intervene, to make Mom see sense. But something had shifted in Mark too. Seeing my absolute breaking point, hearing her cruel words, it had finally clicked for him. He stood by me. When she finally returned, deflated and subdued, the house was a different place. Her gifts were gone, donated to a local charity. Her closet was bare of anything I had bought. Her phone was still in the drawer, its service cancelled. It was a harsh reality check. The silence in the house, devoid of her usual criticisms and demands, was deafening at first, but slowly it became a quiet, peaceful calm. Sarah tried to play the victim, telling her friends and relatives that I had gone insane, that I was a horrible mother. But Mark and I held our ground. We explained calmly and factually what had happened. We showed them the years of texts, the countless instances of her disrespect. Slowly, the narrative shifted. Some family members were shocked, others understood completely. It was a painful, messy process, but it was necessary. Sarah, for the first time in her life, had to face genuine consequences. She had to take on extra shifts at her part-time job just to buy necessities. She had to humble herself and ask her friends for favors or go without. It was a long, arduous road, filled with many arguments and slammed doors. But slowly, inch by painful inch, she started to change. She wasn't an angel overnight, far from it. But the entitlement began to chip away. The anger still flared, but it wasn't directed at me with the same vitriol. She started doing her own laundry, cooking her own meals, even offering to help with chores around the house, things she had never done before. It wasn't about punishment, it was about boundaries. It was about teaching her that actions have consequences, and that love isn't unconditional when it's being trampled underfoot. It's been a few years since that Christmas morning. Sarah is still prickly at times, and our relationship is far from perfect. But there's a fragile respect there now, a quiet understanding. She's learned to say please and thank you, and she even occasionally asks for my advice. We've had long, tearful conversations about everything, and while she still struggles to fully admit how cruel she was, she acknowledges that she pushed me too far. Tom is thriving, finally able to relax and enjoy his home without constant tension. Mark and I are closer than ever, having faced this challenge together. That Christmas was the worst of my life, but in a strange, twisted way, it was also the best. It was the day I finally stood up for myself, and in doing so, I didn't just save myself, I believe I saved a part of my daughter too. So that's my story. It was a dark time, but it led to a brighter future for all of us. I often wonder what would have happened if I hadn't taken that stand. Sometimes, the hardest decisions are the ones that ultimately set us free. Like this video if you were on my side and understood why I did what I did. Subscribe for more stories like this, where I share the raw, unfiltered experiences of life. And please share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. What would you have done differently? Or would you have gone to the same extreme? I'll see you all in the next story.